RSpace is a powerful electronic lab notebook and document management system. I'm going to start by logging in as a hypothetical principal investigator, and after I've added my secure password and click the login button, I'll be brought to an area called the Workspace. The Workspace is analogous to the desktop of my computer. It shows me the things that I'm most likely to work with today. You can see that we have some standalone documents, some folders, and various different notebooks. If I want, I can switch into tree view that allows me to tunnel down in the hierarchy of my various folders, locate particular items, and download them directly to my computer. Most of the time though, I prefer to stay in list view because it tends to give me a better top-down view of my data and allows me to see various different sorts of metadata like the name of the file, the creation date, the last modified date, and so forth. Notice that every item is associated with a unique ID. By clicking on that unique ID and choosing Copy Link, I can get access to a stable link that allows me to identify this resource, and I can use that elsewhere in the system and also in external emails or documents or text messages, either to myself or to my colleagues, to let them know exactly which kind of resource I'm referring to. I can select all of my resources at once, or I can select specific resources, and you'll notice that when I do that, a contextual menu of action items appears at the top of the page. RSpace is smart and it knows what kinds of actions I can perform on whatever particular resources I've chosen to select. We use these select boxes in order to make sure that users have a unified experience regardless of whether they're working with a workstation browser like this one or a mobile device like an iPad or an Android tablet of some sort. To get started using RSpace quickly, I can choose to create new items from the Create menu. Notice that I can make new folders or notebooks or various different sorts of documents based on templates or forms that I've created in the past. Or to get started really quickly, I can just bring in my MS Word files from my local computer. If I click Choose Files and then navigate to my local computer and find a place where I know that I've got some MS Word files, like for example in the protocols.doc folder, I can choose a couple of files from here and say choose and then say import to immediately add these to RSpace. Now these files are added to RSpace as editable documents that I can edit in line without having to open MS Word. So if I click on one of the files that I just exported, we can see it inside RSpace. I can double click on the file to go into edit mode and I can immediately start making changes to this file. Once I'm done making changes, I can equally easily export this file back out of the system as a new MS Word file if I like. Next to the Workspace tab, we have the Gallery tab. The Gallery acts like a hard drive. It essentially is a storage area for all the various files that I might use inside RSpace. This is convenient because it means I don't have to rely on the files that are held inside my local computer. To add files to the gallery, I can just simply navigate through my local file store, find a particular file that's interesting, and drag it into RSpace. The system is added to the gallery and it's sorted by file type. Images are placed in the image gallery, but there are also areas for multimedia files, for standard document types, and for miscellaneous files with different sorts of file extensions that might be particular to your specific instruments or resources. There's also an area for exported files that I can then allow to be published to my colleagues so that they can actually get fast access to them even if they don't use RSpace. RSpace includes some really nice technologies for viewing files in line, so I can see either small previews of different file types or I can click View to go ahead and see it in a new a new tab in the browser. RSpace is especially good at showing different images, so if I go back to the image area of my gallery, I can click on one of these images, and then I can toggle through the different images in my gallery to see them very easily. And I can even see high resolution views of larger files like this DAPI stained cell. This particular cell is, this image is probably about 10 or 15 megabytes, and if I click on it with the zoom tool, you can see that we can zoom right into the image to see it in all of its high resolution glory. RSpace is one of the only ELNs that can do this, and this means that it's particularly appropriate for organizations that are working with visual data, because it means you don't have to waste a lot of time downloading this file and opening up in an external application such as Photoshop or NIH Image. You can also choose to import files to the gallery using other methods. For example, you can just import using a standard file chooser, or you can also import items directly from external file stores like Dropbox or Box. Next to the gallery we see a messaging tab, which is where I would go to analyze any various messages that have come from my colleagues or from the system itself. And next to this tab we have an area called the Apps tab. This shows me some of the systems that I can integrate with. RSpace acts like a hub for all of your data, and you can easily link to files that are held in Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, Google Drive, Mendeley, or various other different systems. You can link to samples that are held in your ECAT sample tracking system, or you can link to GitHub repositories to show your downstream audience different sorts of code bases that might be associated with your research. We also have the ability to bundle up work into archives and send them off to places like Dataverse or Figshare archive systems, and also to DSpace. Chemical structural tools in RSpace are provided by ChemAxon tools, and we also integrate with ORCID too as well to allow you to identify yourself uniquely using the ORCID system. If I go to my RSpace, which acts like a sort of a dashboard, I can see from here individual user folders for the different users who are in my lab, and I can easily access their work using simple permissions that are universal across the system and that are automatically configured as soon as you create your lab group. In this particular situation, I can see that I'm the PI of this particular hypothetical lab. I have a couple of trusted deputies who I've assigned the role of lab admin, and there are 3 standard users in this lab too as well. By default, the PI has read-only view to all of the work performed by everybody in their lab, and this makes it very easy for me to understand exactly what's going on. Inside the My RSpace area, I can also quickly see any of the different shared documents that I'm sharing with other people, and I can choose to unshare them or choose my edit permissions from here. I can also get quick access to an audit report to see everything that's been done by the entire system if I want. And you'll notice that all the different actions that have been performed by my different workers or by me all have an associated unique ID with them that allows me to jump quickly to that exact resource. Finally, there's an export and import area here, which allows me to export all of my work very easily. Or since I'm a PI, I can also go to the My Lab Groups area and choose to export my entire lab group's work with a single click. This gives users a lot of confidence because it means they know they can get their data out at any time in exactly the format that it went in. So for example, I can choose to export my data as a big bundle of HTML containing all of my original attached files in their original format. Or I can export as XML, which is great for long-term storage, or I can choose to export as PDF, and in some cases I can also export certain resources as Word files. If I click the deposit button, I can choose to send bundles of data to archive solutions such as Figshare or Dataverse. This export button is universally the same throughout the system, so I use the same method to export things regardless of whether I'm exporting all my work at once or whether I'm exporting just a single file from the workspace. Sharing in RSpace is easy. To share anything at all, just simply select the files I'd like to share and click on the share button. From here I can decide whether or not I'd like to share with a particular lab or just with a specific individual. I can choose the permissions, and I can even choose what kinds of documents I might choose and what location I'd like to share them to. To change my mind, all I have to do is go to my RSpace and look at the list of documents that I've recently shared. And at any time I can choose to unshare things with just a simple click of a button. There are lots of other things that I could show you in RSpace, but for now let's just focus on maybe a little bit of simple content creation. I'm going to go ahead and say create new document, and this time let's just create a basic document that will act like a blank sheet of paper. Once I've opened the document editor, I can go ahead and I can paste in text from other sources. I can select some of this text and I can choose to link it to external resources. I could, if I wanted to, go ahead and link to things that are already inside RSpace. I can initiate discussion threads with my colleagues where I can ask them what they think of my work. And I can insert other kinds of things into the system too as well. For example, I can insert tables of almost any format that I like, and I can choose to insert documents into those tables to lay my page out with quite a lot of precision. So once I found a document that I'm interested in, I can select it in the gallery and say insert. If it's too big, I can shrink it down, and then into this other cell inside the table I'll insert a different document. And again, I can do this from the gallery like this, or I could choose to go ahead and insert a document from my local computer like this. So you can see we have lots of flexibility in terms of adding files from different sources. I can also go ahead and create images in situ by using the sketch tool. Now I'm really not much of an artist myself, so I'll go ahead and show you that I could draw something using the sketch tool if I wanted to, but I can also equally easily choose to start out with an image that's already in the gallery, and I can just simply then adjust or annotate this image any way I want and insert that directly onto my page. I can also insert chemical structures by using the chemical structure tool. So I can draw any molecule that I want here, center it on the page and click insert to drop it straight into that document. When I'm done creating this content, I can go ahead and just say save and view to see the finished product. And now I can choose whether I'd like to share this with my colleagues, export it as a new file, sign it to lock it and allow myself to choose witnesses, save it as a template so I can use it again tomorrow, or just close the file and go back to my workspace. So I hope this has been a useful 30-second tour of the product. If you have any more questions, you're welcome to go ahead and look at the remainder of the videos on our YouTube channel. And you're also very welcome to schedule a live demo with one of our product specialists who'll be happy to show you the many other features that are available in this sophisticated electronic lab notebook system.